Greetings and great light.
Canst declare me one? I will show thee also the way that thou desirest to see, and I shall show thee from whence the wicked heart cometh. And I said, Tell on, my lord. Then said he unto me, Go thy way, weigh me the weight of the fire, or measure me the blast of the wind, or call me again the day that is past. Then answered I and said, What man is able to do that, that thou shouldst ask such things of me? And he said unto me, If I should ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament, or which are the outgoings of paradise, peradventure thou wouldst say unto me, I never went down into the deep, nor as yet into hell, neither did I ever climb up into heaven. Nevertheless, now have I asked thee but only of the fire and wind, and of the day wherethrough thou hast passed, and of the things from which thou canst not be separated, and yet canst thou give me no answer of them. He said moreover unto me, Thy own things, and such as are grown up with thee, canst thou not know. How should thy vessel then be able to comprehend the way of the highest, and, the world being now outwardly corrupted, to understand the corruption that is evident in my sight? Then said I unto him, It were better that we were not at all than that we should live still in wickedness, and to suffer, and to not know wherefore. He answered me and said, I went into a forest, into a plain, and the trees took counsel, and said, Come, let us go and make war against the sea, that it may depart away before us, and that we may make us more woods. The floods of the sea also in like manner took counsel, and said, Come, let us go up and subdue the woods of the plain, that there also we may make us another country. The thought of the wood was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. The thought of the floods of the sea came likewise to naught, for the sand stood up and stopped them. If thou wert judge now betwixt these two, whom wouldst thou begin to justify, or whom wouldst thou condemn? I answered and said, Verily it is a foolish thought that they both have devised, for the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea also hath his place to bear his floods. Then answered he me and said, Thou hast given a right judgment, but why judgest thou not thyself also? For like as the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea to his floods, even so they that dwell upon the earth may understand nothing but that which is upon the earth. And he that dwelleth above the heavens may only understand the things that are above the height of the heavens. Then answered I and said, I beseech thee, O Lord, let me have understanding. For it was not my mind to be curious of the high things, but of such as pass by us daily, namely, wherefore Israel is given up as a reproach to the heathen, and for what cause the people whom thou hast loved is given over unto ungodly nations, and why the law of our forefathers is brought to naught, and the written covenants come to no effect, and we pass away out of the world as grasshoppers, and our life is astonishment and fear, and we are not worthy to obtain mercy. What will he then do unto his name whereby we are called? Of these things have I asked. Then answered he me and said, The more thou searchest, the more thou shalt marvel. For the world hasteth fast to pass away, and cannot comprehend the things that are promised to the righteous in time to come. For this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities. But as concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good. For the grain of evil seed hath been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning. And how much ungodliness hath it brought up unto this time? And how much shall it yet bring forth until the time of threshing come? Ponder now by thyself how great fruit of wickedness the grain of evil seed hath brought forth. And when the ears shall be cut down, which are without number, how great a floor shall they fill? Then I answered and said, How and when shall these things come to pass? Wherefore our years are few and evil. And he answered me, saying, Do not thou hasten above the Most High, for thy haste is in vain to be above him, for thou hast much exceeded. Did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers, saying, How long shall I hope on this fashion? When cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? And unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, Even when the number of seeds is filled in you, For he hath weighed the world in the balance. By measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times. And he doth not move nor stir them, until the said measure be fulfilled. Then answered I and said, O Lord, that bearest rule, even we all are full of impiety. And for our sakes peradventure it is that the floors of the righteous are not filled, because of the sins of them that dwell upon the earth. So he answered me and said, Go thy way to a woman with child, and ask of her when she hath fulfilled her 9 months, if her womb may keep the birth any longer within her. Then said I, No, Lord, that can she not. And he said unto me, In the grave the chambers of souls are like the womb of a woman. For like as a woman that travaileth maketh haste to escape the necessity of the travail, even so do these places haste to deliver those things that are committed unto them. From the beginning look what thou desirest to see, it shall be shown thee. Then answered I and said, If I have found favor in thy sight, and if it be possible, and if I be meet therefore, show me then whether there be more to come than is past, or more past than is to come. What is past I know, but what is for to come I know not. And he said unto me, Stand up upon the right side, and I shall expound the similitude unto you. So I stood and saw, and behold, a hot burning oven passed by before me. And it happened that when the flame was gone by, I looked, and behold, the smoke remained still. After this there passed by before me a watery cloud, and sent down much rain with a storm. And when the stormy rain was past, the drops remained still. Then said he unto me, Consider with thyself, as the rain is more than the drops, and as the fire is greater than the smoke. But the drops and the smoke remain behind. So the quantity which is past did more exceed. Then I prayed and said, May I live, thinkest thou, until that time? Or what shall happen in those days? He answered me and said, As for the tokens whereof thou askest me, I may tell thee of them in part. But as touching thy life, I am not sent to show thee, for I do not know it. Chapter 5. Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, behold, the days shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. But iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. And the land that thou seest now to have root, shalt thou see wasted suddenly. But if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in the day, and blood shall drop out of wood, and the stone shall give his voice, and the people shall be troubled. And even he shall rule whom they look not for that dwell upon the earth, and the fowls shall take their flight away together. And the Sodomitish sea shall cast out fish, and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft sent out again. And the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters, and salt waters shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into his secret chamber, and shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. Then shall unrighteousness and incontinence be multiplied upon earth. One land also shall ask another and say, Is unrighteousness that maketh a man righteous gone through thee? And it shall say, No. At the same time shall men hope, but nothing obtain. They shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. To show thee such tokens, I have leave. And if thou wilt pray again, and weep as now, and fast 7 days, thou shalt hear yet greater things. Then I awoke, and an extreme fearfulness went through all my body, and my mind was troubled, so that it fainted. So the angel that was come to talk with me held me, comforted me, and set me up upon my feet. And in the second night it came to pass that Salathiel, the captain of the people, came unto me, saying, Where hast thou been? And why is thy countenance so heavy? Knowest thou not that Israel is committed unto thee in the land of their captivity? Up then, and eat bread, and forsake us not, as the shepherd that leaveth his flock in the hands of cruel wolves. Then said I unto him, Go thy ways from me, and come not nigh me. And he heard what I said, and went from me. And so I fasted 7 days, mourning and weeping, like as Uriel the angel commanded me. And after 7 days, so it was, that the thoughts of my heart were very grievous unto me again, and my soul recovered the spirit of understanding. And I began to talk with the Most High again, and said, O Lord, that bearest rule of every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee only one vine, and of all lands of the whole world thou hast chosen thee one pit, and of all the flowers thereof one lily, and of all the depths of the sea thou hast filled thee one river, and of all built cities thou hast hallowed sign unto thyself, and of all the fowls that are created thou hast named thee one dove, and of all the cattle that are made thou hast provided thee one sheep, and among all the multitudes of peoples thou hast gotten thee one people, and unto this people whom thou lovest thou gavest a law that is approved of all. And now, O Lord, why hast thou given this one people over unto many? And upon the one root hast thou prepared others? And why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many? And they which did gainsay thy promises, and believed not thy covenants, have trodden them down. If thou didst so much hate thy people, yet shouldest thou punish them with thy own hands. Now when I had spoken these words, the angel that came to me the night afore was sent unto me, and said unto me, Hear me, and I will instruct thee. Hearken to the thing that I say, and I shall tell thee more. And I said, Speak on, my Lord. Then said he unto me, Thou art sore troubled in mind for Israel's sake. Lovest thou that people better than he that made them? And I said, No, Lord, but of very grief have I spoken, for my reins pain me every hour, while I labor to comprehend the way of the Most High, and to seek out part of his judgment. And he said unto me, Thou canst not. And I said, Wherefore, Lord? Whereunto was I born then? Or why was not my mother's womb then my grave, that I might not have seen the travail of Jacob, and the wearisome toil of the stock of Israel? And he said unto me, Number me the things that are not yet come. Gather me together the drops that are scattered abroad. Make me the flowers green again that are withered. Open me the places that are closed, and bring me forth the winds that in them are shut up. Show me the image of a voice, and then I will declare to thee the thing that thou laborest to know. And I said, O Lord, that bearest rule, who may know these things but he that hath not his dwelling with men? As for me, I am unwise. How may I then speak of these things whereof thou askest me? Then said he unto me, Like as thou canst do none of these things that I have spoken of, even so canst thou not find out my judgment, or in the end the love that I have promised unto my people. And I said, Behold, O Lord, yet art thou nigh unto them that be reserved till the end? And what shall they do that have been before me? Or we that be now, or they that shall come after us? And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring. Like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. So I answered and said, Couldst thou not make those that have been made, and be now, and that are for to come at once, that thou mightest show thy judgment the sooner? Then answered he me and said, The creature may not haste above the Maker, neither may the world hold them at once that shall be created therein. And I said, As thou hast said unto thy servant, that thou, which givest life to all, hast given life at once to the creature that thou hast created, and the creature bore it. Even so it might now also bear them that now be present at once. And he said unto me, Ask the womb of a woman, and say unto her, If thou bringest forth children, why doest thou it not together, but one after another? Pray her therefore to bring forth 10 children at once. And I said, She cannot, but must do it by distance of time. Then said he unto me, Even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their times. For like as a young child may not bring forth the things that belong to the aged, even so have I disposed the world which I created. And I asked and said, Seeing thou hast now given me the way, I will proceed to speak before thee. For our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth now nigh unto age. He answered me and said, Ask a woman that beareth children, and he shall tell thee. Say unto her, Wherefore are not they whom thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature? And she shall answer thee, They that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. Con-
when you talk with him, he answer you just like that. He acts you like that. He talk to you just like that. So this is second Esdras from the Apocrypha, known to be removed from the Bible. Mm. When you step to shame and your humiliation spiritually, and you allow common sense to talk with you, it is him who they call Jesus. It's the light. Um, it's him talking with you. You have to humble yourself. You have to let God humble you. Yet you don't know what no man talking. You confess your sins to the one that's greater in you, the he that's in the world, and you humble to your humiliation spiritually, and you can listen to him talk. He'll sup with you, and you'll sup with him. So, in other words, why would a man wait for another man that don't have the Holy Spirit or the light to tell him or share with him truth when it's greater in you than he that's in the world? Why wait on a man to tell you when to cross the street? When he'll tell you. Guess when you do it for so long, it's easy. How was I able to overcome the world? Him that's in me. How am I able to speak the way I do? Him that's in me. Him that's in me is greater than he that's in the world. He that's in the world, the love of the Father is not in him, for he cannot see truth. For if he seen truth, he would not be in the world. For he will realize in the world don't exist. Only to him. Only to him the world exists. The world exists only to him in borders and lines of counties, only in his mind, only in his mind, where he was taken from a land, from his land, and came back to the same land to work it for another. For another, he worked the land and did not understand the language. He didn't understand the language, so he rebelled. He didn't stand under the language, though he used it anyway. He rebelled because he didn't stand under the language. He came understanding how to spell. When he came, he understanding how to spell. He built a wall up around himself that no man can open, no man can close. So these walls built up around him brought him to a box of darkness. In this dark box, he sunk into the couch. Though he sunk into the couch, he still felt or read or seen a slither of light piercing through the dungeon walls. So no matter how dark it got, it would always be a slither, a sliver of light in his presence that will always say, "Come to me." It will say, "I overcame the world." And he let a rope down. He let a rope down into the dungeon and the crack in the wall. Rapunzel. And then the one in the dark block box didn't comprehend the light or the rope. He didn't comprehend hangings, ropes, hanging, and lights. His ignorance, or his seeing his ignorance of, of the presence of the rope was in darkness. So he slept for days and weeks and years. And over time, he studied the rope and looked at the rope in and out and round and round. And at times, he would untwine the rope in his mind, twine it back together till one day, guards banged on the door and said, "You've been in here all this time. It's time to come get you." So him in the dark box felt comfortable, felt at home, felt that why you coming to get him now? They said they come to get him now for he know too much. He say, how is it that he knows too much when he's been underfoot for so long? They said to him, for you think you all high and mighty. He said to himself, for he said I think I am high and mighty. And he said, no. How is it that one is all high and mighty and his dwelling is as far as his eyes can see? He understand how to spell and this wall built up around him of all the knowledge he gained through spelling. They said to him he must talk to the magistrate. He said nothing more. Double-edged sword.
Consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you, and so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old have passed over the strength of their youth. Chapter 6. Then said I, Lord, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature. And he said unto me, In the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Sion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through no other. By me also they shall be ended, and by no other. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Esdras, asked thou not? I answered then and said, O Lord, that bearest rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, show thy servant the end of thy tokens, whereof thou showedst me part the last night. So he answered and said unto me, Stand up upon thy feet, and hear a mighty sounding voice. And it shall be as it were a great nation, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. And therefore when it speaketh, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundation of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembleth and is moved, for it knoweth that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened that when I had heard it, I stood up upon my feet, and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spoke, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, Behold, the days come, that I will begin to draw nigh, and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of sign shall be fulfilled. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape, and see my salvation, and at the end of your world. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth, and the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed, and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which hath been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And when he talked with me, behold, I looked by little and little upon him before whom I stood. And these words said he unto me, I am come to show thee the time of the night to come. If thou wilt pray yet more, and fast 7 days again, I shall tell thee greater things by day than I have heard. For thy voice is heard before the Most High, for the Mighty hath seen thy righteous dealing, and hath seen also thy chastity, which thou hast had ever since thy youth. And therefore hath he sent me to show thee all these things, and to say unto thee, Be of good comfort, and fear not, and hasten not with the times that are past to think vain things, that thou mayest not hasten from the latter times. And it came to pass after this that I wept again, and fasted 7 days in like manner, that I might fulfill the 3 weeks which he told me. And in the 8th night was my heart vexed within me again, and I began to speak before the Most High, for my spirit was greatly set on fire, and my soul was in distress. And I said, O Lord, thou spokest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and saidst thus, Let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. And then was the spirit, and darkness, and silence were on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed. Then commandedst thou a fair light to come forth of thy treasures, that thy work might appear. Upon the 2nd day thou madest the spirit of the firmament, and commandedst it to part asunder, and to make a division betwixt the waters, that the one part might go up, and the other remain beneath. Upon the 3rd day thou didst command that the waters should be gathered in the 7th part of the earth. 6 parts hast thou dried up and kept them, to the intent that of these some being planted of God and tilled might serve thee. For as soon as thy word went forth, the work was made. For immediately there was great and innumerable fruit, and many and diverse pleasures for the taste, and flowers of unchangeable color, and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the 3rd day. Upon the 4th day thou commandedst that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order, and gavest them a charge to do service unto man that was to be made. Upon the 5th day thou saidst unto the 7th part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls and fishes. And so it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous works. Then didst thou ordain 2 living creatures, the one thou calledst Enoch, and the other Leviathan, and didst separate the one from the other. For the 7th part, namely, where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. Unto Enoch thou gavest 1 part, which was dried up the 3rd day, that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the 7th part, namely the moist, and hast kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt, and when. Upon the 6th day thou gavest commandment unto the earth, that before thee it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things, and after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures. Of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us, and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? Chapter 7. And when I had made an end of speaking these words, there was sent unto me the angel which had been sent unto me the nights afore, And he said unto me, Up, Esdras, and hear the word that I am come to tell thee. And I said, Speak on, my God. Then said he unto me, The sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. But put the case the entrance were narrow, and like a river, who then could go into the sea to look upon it, and to rule it? If he went not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? There is also another thing. A city is built, and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? And I said, It is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, Even so also is Israel's portion, because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils and very painful. For the entrances of the elder world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit. If then they that live labor not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. Now therefore, why disquietest thou thyself, seeing thou art but a corruptible man? And why art thou moved, whereas thou art but mortal? Why hast thou not considered in thy mind this thing that is to come, rather than that which is present? Then answered I and said, O Lord, that bearest rule, thou hast ordained in thy law that the righteous should inherit these things, but that the ungodly should perish. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things and hope for wide, for they have done wickedly and suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the wide. And he said unto me, There is no judge above God, and none that hath understanding above the highest. For there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of God that is set before them. For God hath given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spoke against him, and imagined vain things, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not, and knew not his ways.
They deceived themselves. They taught themselves one plus one is two. They taught themselves that after C come D. At the end of the alphabet is Z. They taught themselves one plus one is two. I said that. They taught themselves what a mother and a father is. They taught themselves what a vocal word towards their mental ability to think they comprehended, which is they deceived themselves. The whole time they was teaching themselves and they didn't realize they was independent and they became Independence Day. Day, Independence Day, Independence Day, Independence Day, Independence Day, Independence Day. Day became Independence Day, became Independence Day, became Independence Day. They became Independence Day. We we became Independence Day. And we sat on the top of the Tower of Babel. In them, ride, in them, name, name, ride, Nimrod, nigh, ride, nigh, Mr. Odd. No, Mr. Odd, no lame niggas. Excuse my language, right? No, Mr. Odd, nigh, Mr. Odd, Nimrod. They sat at the top of the Tower of Babel and they shot arrows at God The arrows came back down with plastic tips made of red, or the arrow came back down with blood on the tip. So they became Independence Day became, and they taught themselves and did not let or receive God, where God sent them out of the Garden of Eden, is like Cain, um, and no one should kill them. They would have to sue, like in court, a side, SAID. They will have to sue a side in court. Um, so they failed to sue a side in court, um, which is the one that built up the wall of understanding how to spell, to comprehend suing one side in court. Um, they pursue a side literally in court, right? Because they became independent. They became. They became independent on themselves, and it was them, knowing or not knowing, telling themselves 1 plus 1 is 2. And they didn't realize there was no one to blame. It's a blank flashcard. It's a blank page with something on it. You think nothing's there. And you told yourself 1 plus 1 is 2. So they deceived themselves, which is they removed the sight. Deceive. They remove sight of themselves in the true living light that came to all men that was born on earth. They became nice. They became no see. They became not to see and nice. They became deny see, deny their sight, which is deceive. So their sight was removed, surgically removed. Medical media, media center, medical center, media sin, media sin, prescribe, describe, director, prescriptor, prescriptor, script writer, rewriter, description, and instruction. Double issue.
But his law have they despised and denied his covenants. In his statutes have they not been faithful, and have not performed his works. And therefore, Esdras, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are the full things. Behold, the time shall come that these tokens which I have told thee shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear, and she coming forth shall be seen, that now is withdrawn from the earth. And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. For my son Yeshaiah shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. After these years shall my son Christ die, and all men that have life. And the world shall be turned into the old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgments, so that no man shall remain. And after 7 days the world that yet awaketh not shall be raised up, and that shall die that is corrupt. And the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her, and so shall the dust those that dwell in silence, and the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. And the Most High shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away, and the long suffering shall have an end. But judgment only shall remain, truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong. And the work shall follow, and the reward shall be shown, and the good deeds shall be of force, and the wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Then said I, Abraham prayed first for the Sodomites, and Moses for the fathers that sinned in the wilderness, and Yeshua after him for Israel in the time of Achan, and Samuel and David for the destruction, and Solomon for them that should come to the sanctuary, and Elias for those that received rain, and for the dead that he might live, and Ezekias for the people in the time of Sennacherib, and many for many. Even so now, seeing corruption is grown up, and wickedness increased, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly, wherefore shall it not be so now also? He answered me and said, This present life is not the end where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past, intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that hath gotten the victory. I answered then and said, This is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have given the earth unto Adam, or else when it was given him, to have restrained him from sinning. For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after death to look for punishment? O thou Adam, what hast thou done? For though it was thou that sinned, thou art not fallen alone, but we all that come of thee. For what profit is it unto us, if there be promised us an immortal time, whereas we have done the works that bring death, and that there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves, being most wicked, are made vain, and that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly, and that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which have led a weary life.
What is a demon? I don't remember reading that. Oh yeah. Question is what is demon to you? If you still there, grandma. Light. To remove light. Like that slither of light piercing through the crack, right? So when he approached the magistrate, he said that what you say of I think I am all high and mighty. He said that what you speak of is true. I think the great I am is all high and mighty. I think, comma, the great I is all high and mighty. I think am all high and mighty. to be insane or to have your sanity inside. The mistress just said nothing. What's this manner of wording you speak? Um, he said, the only wording I know, the only wording I think I know. He said, am I talking a set language of this land with you? The magistrate said, why, of course. He said, therefore, I'm speaking what I know of this language and this land that you speak. He said, the magistrate, what is this you speak? It's interesting. He said, you lack interest into what I speak because a funny bone in your mind has been tickled. He said, I know that you are bedazzled by the words I speak in this language on this land. And when you get it, you will realize your funny bone was tickled. The magistrate said, I must release you. He said, because you are retarded. The young man, son of God, said, why thank ya? Or why thank you? Why thank you? And the young man was on his way to shepherd and save his people. But he had to be released, for he was innocent.
Whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all, and that there should be shown a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security and medicine, since we shall not enter into it, for we have walked in unpleasant places, and that the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness. For while we lived and committed iniquity, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle which man that is born upon the earth shall fight, that if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said, but if he get the glory, he shall receive the thing that I say. For this is the life whereof Moses spoke unto the people while he lived, saying, choose thee life, that thou mayest live. Nevertheless, they believed not him, nor yet the prophets after him, no, nor me which have spoken unto them, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction, as shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. I answered then and said, I know, Lord, that the Most High is called merciful, in that he hath mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world, and upon those also that turn to his law. and that he is patient and long suffereth those that have sinned as his creatures, and that he is bountiful, for he is ready to give where it needeth, and that he is of great mercy, for he multiplies more and more mercies to them that are present, and that are past, and also to them which are to come. For if he shall not multiply his mercies, the world would not continue with them that inherit therein. And he pardoneth. For if he did not so of his goodness, that they which have committed iniquities might be eased of them, the 10,000th part of men should not remain living. And being judge, if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word, and put out the multitude of contentions. Chapter 8. And he answered me, saying, The Most High hath made this world for many, but the world to come for few. I will tell thee a similitude, Esdras, as when thou askest the earth, it shall say unto thee, that it giveth much mold whereof earthen vessels are made, but little dust that gold cometh of. Even so is the course of this present world. There be many created, but few shall be saved. So answered I and said, Swallow then down, O my soul, understanding, and devour wisdom. For thou hast agreed to give ear, and art willing to prophesy. For thou hast no longer space than only to live. O Lord, if thou suffer not thy servant, that we may pray before thee, and thou give us seed unto our heart, and culture to our understanding, that there may come fruit of it. How shall each man live that is corrupt, who beareth the place of a man? For thou art alone, and we all one workmanship of thy hands, like as thou hast said. For when the body is fashioned now in the mother's womb, and thou givest it members, thy creature is preserved in fire and water. And 9 months doth thy workmanship endure thy creature, which is created in her. But that which keepeth and is kept shall both be preserved. And when the time cometh, the womb preserved delivereth up the things that grew in it. For thou hast commanded out of the parts of the body, that is to say, out of the breasts, milk to be given, which is the fruit of the breasts, that the thing which is fashioned may be nourished for a time, till thou disposest it to thy mercy. Thou broughtest it up with thy righteousness, and nurturedst it in thy law, and reformedst it with thy judgment. And thou shalt mortify it as thy creature, and quicken it as thy work. If therefore thou shalt destroy him which with so great labor was fashioned, it is an easy thing to be ordained by thy commandment, that the thing which was made might be preserved. Now therefore, Lord, I will speak. Touching man in general, thou knowest best, but touching thy people, for whose sake I am sorry, and for thy inheritance, for whose cause I mourn, and for Israel, for whom I am heavy, and for Jacob, for whose sake I am troubled. Therefore will I begin to pray before thee for myself and for them, for I see the falls of us that dwell in the land. But I have heard the swiftness of the judge which is to come. Therefore hear my voice, and understand my words, and I shall speak before thee. This is the beginning of the words of Esdras, before he was taken up. And I said, O Lord, thou that dwellest in everlastingness, which beholdest from above things in the heaven and in the air, whose throne is inestimable, whose glory may not be comprehended, before whom the hosts of angels stand with trembling, whose service is conversant in wind and fire, whose word is true and sayings constant, whose commandment is strong and ordinance fearful, whose look drieth up the depths, and indignation maketh the mountains to melt away, which the truth witnesseth. O hear the prayer of thy servant, and give ear to the petition of thy creature. For while I live, I will speak, and so long as I have understanding, I will answer. O look not upon the sins of thy people, but on them which serve thee in truth. Regard not the wicked inventions of the heathen, but the desire of those that keep thy testimonies in afflictions. Think not upon those that have walked feignedly before thee, but remember them which according to thy will have known thy fear. Let it not be thy will to destroy them which have lived like beasts, but to look upon them that have clearly taught thy law. Take thou no indignation at them which are deemed worse than beasts, but love them that always put their trust in thy righteousness and glory. For we and our fathers do languish of such diseases, but because of us sinners thou shalt be called merciful. For if thou hast a desire to have mercy upon us, thou shalt be called merciful, to us, namely, that have no works of righteousness, for the just, which have many good works laid up with thee, shall out of their own deeds receive reward. For what is man that thou shouldst take displeasure at him? Or what is a corruptible generation that thou shouldst be so bitter towards it? For in truth there is no man among them that be born, but he hath dealt wickedly, and among the faithful there is none which hath not done amiss. For in this, O Lord, thy righteousness and thy goodness shall be declared, if thou be merciful unto them that have not the confidence of good works. Then answered he me and said, Some things hast thou spoken aright, and according unto thy words it shall be. For indeed I will not think on the disposition of them which have sinned before death, before judgment, before destruction, but I will rejoice over the disposition of the righteous, and I will remember also their pilgrimage, and the salvation, and the reward that they shall have. Like as I have spoken now, so shall it come to pass. For as the husbandman soweth much seed upon the ground, and planteth many trees, and yet the thing that is sown good in his season cometh not up, neither doth all that is planted take root. Even so is it of them that are sown in the world. They shall not all be saved. I answered then and said, If I have found grace, let me speak. Like as the husbandman's seed perisheth, if it come not up, and receive not the rain in due season, or if there come too much rain and corrupt it. Even so perisheth man also which is formed with thy hands, and is called thy own image, because thou art like unto him, for whose sake thou hast made all things, and likened him unto the husbandman's seed. Be not wroth with us, but spare thy people, and have mercy upon thy own inheritance. For thou art merciful unto thy creature. Then answered he me and said, Things present are for the present, and things to come for such as be to come. For thou comest far short that thou shouldst be able to love my creature more than I. But I have oft times drawn nigh unto thee, and unto it, but never to the unrighteous. In this also thou art marvelous before the Most High, in that thou hast humbled thyself as it becometh thee, and hast not judged thyself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. But understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like thee. For unto you is paradise opened, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready, a city is built, and rest is allowed, yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. The root of all evil is sealed up from you, weakness and the moth is hid from you, and corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Sorrows are past, and in the end is shown the treasure of immortality. And therefore ask thou no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. For when they had taken liberty, they despised the Most High, thought scorn of his law, and forsook his ways. Moreover, they have trodden down his righteous, and said in their heart that there is no God, yea, and that knowing they must die. For as the things aforesaid shall receive you, so thirst and pain are prepared for them. For it was not his will that men should come to naught, but they which be created have defiled the name of him that made them, and were unthankful unto him which prepared life for them. And therefore is my judgment now at hand. These things have I not shown unto all men, but unto thee, and a few like thee. Then answered I and said, Behold, O Lord, now hast thou shown me the multitude of the wonders which thou wilt begin to do in the last times, but at what time thou hast not shown me. Chapter 9. He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told before thee, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the Highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spoke of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the Highest have plain beginnings in wonders and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. And every one that shall be saved, and shall be able to escape by his works, and by faith, whereby ye have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. Then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. For such as in their life have received benefits, and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law while they had yet liberty, and when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it, the same must know it after death by pain. And therefore be thou not curious how the ungodly shall be punished, and when, but inquire how the righteous shall be saved, whose the world is, and for whom the world is created. Then answered I and said, I have said before, and now do speak, and will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved, like as a wave is greater than a drop. And he answered me, saying, like as the field is, so is also the seed. As the flowers be, such are the colors also. Such as the workman is, such also is the work. And as the husbandman is himself, so is his husbandry also, for it was the time of the world. And now when I prepared the world, which was not yet made, even for them to dwell in that now live, no man spoke against me. For then every one obeyed. But now the manners of them which are created in this world that is made are corrupted by a perpetual seed, and by a law which is unsearchable rid themselves. So I considered the world, and behold, there was peril, because of the devices that were come into it. And I saw and spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of the cluster, and a plant of a great people. Let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept, and my plant. For with great labor have I made it perfect. Nevertheless, if thou wilt cease yet 7 days more, but thou shalt not fast in them, but go into a field of flowers, where no house is built, and eat only the flowers of the field, taste no flesh, drink no wine, but eat flowers only, and pray unto the highest continually, then will I come and talk with thee. So I went my way into the field which is called Ardath, like as he commanded me, and there I sat among the flowers, and did eat of the herbs of the field, and the meat of the same satisfied me. After 7 days I sat upon the grass, and my heart was vexed within me, like as before. And I opened my mouth and began to talk before the Most High, and said, O Lord, thou that showest thyself unto us, thou wast shown unto our fathers in the wilderness, in a place where no man treadeth, in a barren place, when they came out of Egypt. And thou spokest, saying, Hear me, O Israel, and mark my words, thou seed of Jacob. For behold, I sow my law in you, and it shall bring fruit in you, and ye shall be honored in it forever. But our fathers which received the law kept it not, and observed not thy ordinances. And though the fruit of thy law did not perish, neither could it, for it was thine. Yet they that received it perished, because they kept not the thing that was sown in them. And lo, it is a custom, when the ground hath received seed, or the sea a ship, or any vessel meat or drink, that being perished wherein it was sown or cast into, the thing also which was sown, or cast therein, or received, doth perish, and remaineth not with us. But with us it hath not happened so. For we that have received the law perish by sin, and our heart also which received it. Notwithstanding the law perisheth not, but remaineth in his force. And when I spoke these things in my heart, I looked back with my eyes, and upon the right side I saw a woman, and behold, she mourned and wept with a loud voice, and was much grieved in her heart. And her clothes were rent, and she had ashes upon her head. Then let I my thoughts go that I was in, and turned me unto her, and said unto her, Wherefore weepest thou? Why art thou so grieved in thy mind? And she said unto me, Sir, let me alone, that I may bewail myself, and add unto my sorrow. For I am sore vexed in my mind, and brought very low. And I said unto her, What aileth thee? Tell me. She said unto me, I, thy servant, have been barren, and had no child, though I had a husband 30 years. And those 30 years I did nothing else day and night, every hour, but make my prayer to the highest. After 30 years God heard me, thy handmaid, looked upon my misery, considered my trouble, and gave me a son. And I was very glad of him, so was my husband also, and all my neighbors, and we gave great honor unto the Almighty. And I nourished him with great travail. So when he grew up and came to the time that he should have a wife, I made a feast. Chapter 10. And it so came to pass that when my son was entered into his wedding chamber, he fell down and died. Then we all overthrew the lights, and all my neighbors rose up to comfort me. So I took my rest unto the second day at night. And it came to pass when they had all left off to comfort me, to the end I might be quiet, then rose I up by night and fled, and came hither into this field, as thou seest. And I do now purpose not to return into the city, but here to stay, and neither to eat nor drink, but continually to mourn and to fast until I die. Then left I the meditations wherein I was, and spoke to her in anger, saying, Thou foolish woman above all others, seest thou not our mourning, and what happeneth unto us? How that sign our mother is full of all heaviness, and much humbled, mourning very sore? And now seeing we all mourn and are sad, for we are all in heaviness, art thou grieved for one son? For ask the earth, and she shall tell thee, that it is she which ought to mourn for the fall of so many that grow upon her. For out of her came all at the first, and out of her shall all others come. And behold, they walk almost all into destruction, and a multitude of them is utterly rooted out. Who then should make more mourning than she that hath lost so great a multitude, and not thou, which art sorry but for one? But if thou sayest unto me, My lamentation is not like the earth's, because I have lost the fruit of my womb, which I brought forth with pains and bore with sorrows, but the earth not so, for the multitude present in it according to the course of the earth is gone, as it came. Then say I unto thee, like as thou hast brought forth with labor, even so the earth also hath given her fruit, namely, man, ever since the beginning unto him that made her. Now therefore keep thy sorrow to thyself, and bear with a good courage that which hath befallen thee. For if thou shalt acknowledge the determination of God to be just, for thou shalt both receive thy son in time, and thou shalt be commended amongst women. Go thy way then into the city to thy husband. Then she said unto me, That I will not do. I will not go into the city, but here will I die. So I proceeded to speak further unto her and said, Do not so, but be counseled by me. For how many are the adversities of Sion? Be comforted in regard of the sorrow of Jerusalem. For thou seest that our sanctuary is laid waste, our altar broken down, our temple destroyed. Our psaltery is laid on the ground, our song is put to silence, our rejoicing is at an end. The light of our candlestick is put out, the ark of our covenant is spoiled, our holy things are defiled, and the name that is called upon us is almost profaned. Our children are put to shame, our priests are burnt, our Levites are gone into captivity, our virgins are defiled, and our wives ravished, our righteous men carried away, our little ones destroyed, our young men are brought in bondage, and our strong men are become weak. And which is the greatest of all? The seal of Sion hath now lost her honor, for she is delivered into the hands of them that hate us. And therefore shake off thy great heaviness, and put away the multitude of sorrows, that the mighty may be merciful unto thee again, and the highest shall give thee rest and ease from thy labor. And it came to pass, while I was talking with her, behold, her face upon a sudden shone exceedingly, and her countenance glistered, so that I was afraid of her, and mused what it might be. And behold, suddenly she made a great cry, very fearful, so that the earth shook at the noise of the woman. And I looked, and behold, the woman appeared unto me no more, but there was a city built, and a large place showed itself from the foundations. Then was I afraid, and cried with a loud voice, and said, Where is Uriel the angel, who came unto me at the first? For he hath caused me to fall into many trances, and my end is turned into corruption, and my prayer to rebuke. And as I was speaking these words, behold, he came unto me, and looked upon me, and lo, I lay as one that had been dead, and my understanding was taken from me. And he took me by the right hand, and comforted me, and set me upon my feet, and said unto me, What aileth thee? And why art thou so disquieted? And why is thy understanding troubled, and the thoughts of thy heart? And I said, Because thou hast forsaken me, and yet I did according to thy words, and I went into the field, and lo, I have seen, and yet see that I am not able to express. And he said unto me, Stand up manfully, and I will advise thee. Then said I, Speak on, my Lord, in me. Only forsake me not, lest I die frustrate of my hope. For I seen that I knew not, and hear that I do not know. Or is my sense deceived, or my soul in a dream? Now therefore I beseech thee that thou wilt show thy servant of this vision. He answered me then and said, Hear me, and I shall inform thee, and tell thee wherefore thou art afraid. For the highest will reveal many secret things unto thee. He hath seen that thy way is right, for that thou sorrowest continually for thy people, and makest great lamentation for Sion. This therefore is the meaning of the vision which thou lately sawest. Thou sawest a woman mourning, and thou beganest to comfort her. But now seest thou the likeness of the woman no more, but there appeared unto thee a city built, and whereas she told thee of the death of her son, this is the solution. This woman whom thou sawest is Sion, and whereas she said unto thee, even she whom thou seest as a city built, whereas I say, she said unto thee, that she hath been 30 years barren. Those are the 30 years wherein there was no offering made in her. But after 30 years, Solomon built the city, and offered offerings, and then bore the barren a son. And whereas she told thee that she nourished him with labor, that she was the dwelling in Jerusalem. But whereas she said unto thee, that my son coming into his marriage chamber happened to have a fall and died, this was the destruction that came to Jerusalem. And behold, thou sawest her likeness, and because she mourned for her son, thou beganest to comfort her. And of these things which have chanced, these are to be opened unto thee. For now the Most High seeth that thou art grieved unfeignedly, and sufferest from thy whole heart for her. So hath he shown thee the brightness of her glory, and the comeliness of her beauty. And therefore I bade thee remain in the field where no house was built, for I knew that the highest would show this unto thee. Therefore I commanded thee to go in the field, where no foundation of any building was. For in the place wherein the highest beginneth to show his city, there can no man's building be able to stand. And therefore fear not, let not thy heart be affrighted, but go thy way in, and see the beauty of the greatness of the building, as much as thy eyes be able to see, and then shalt thou hear as much as thy ears may comprehend. For thou art blessed above many others, and art called with the highest, and so but are few. But tomorrow at night thou shalt remain here, and so shall the highest show thee visions of the high things, which the Most High will do unto them that dwell upon the earth in the last days. So I slept that night, and another, like as he commanded me. Chapter 11. Then saw I a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle, which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. And I saw, and behold, she spread her wings all over the earth, and all the winds of the air blew on her, and were gathered together. And I beheld, and out of her feathers there grew other contrary feathers, and they became little feathers and small. But her heads were at rest. The head in the midst was greater than the others, yet rested it with the residue. Moreover, I beheld, and lo, the eagle flew with her feathers, and reigned upon earth, and over them that dwelt therein. And I saw that all things under heaven were subject unto her, and no man spoke against her, no, not one creature upon earth. And I beheld, and lo, the eagle rose upon her talons, and spoke to her feathers, saying, Watch not all at once, sleep every one in his own place, and watch by course, but let the heads be preserved for the last. And I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her heads, but from the midst of her body. And I numbered her contrary feathers, and behold, there were 8 of them. And I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose one feather, and reigned over all the earth. And so it was, that when it rained, the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more. So the next following stood up, and reigned, and had a great time. And it happened that when it rained, the end of it came also, like as the first, so that it appeared no more. Then came there a voice unto it, and said, Hear thou that hast borne rule over the earth so long. This I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more, there shall none after thee attain unto thy time, neither unto the half thereof. Then arose the third, and reigned as the others before, and appeared no more also. So went it with all the residue one after another, as that every one reigned, and then appeared no more. Then I beheld, and lo, in the process of time the feathers that followed stood up upon the right side, that they might rule also. And some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more. For some of them were set up, but ruled not. After this I looked, and behold, the 12 feathers appeared no more, nor the 2 little feathers. And there was no more upon the eagle's body, but 3 heads that rested, and 6 little wings. When I saw also that the 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6, and remained under the head that was upon the right side, for the 4 continued in their place. And I beheld, and lo, the feathers that were under the wing thought to set up themselves, and to have the rule. And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, but shortly it appeared no more. And the second was sooner away than the first. And I beheld, and lo, the 2 that remained thought also in themselves to reign. And when they so thought, behold, there awoke one of the heads that were at rest, namely, it that was in the midst, for that it was greater than the 2 other heads. And then I saw that the 2 other heads were joined with it. And behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and did eat up the 2 feathers under the wing that would have reigned. But this head put the whole earth in fear, and bore rule in it over all those that dwelt upon the earth with much oppression, and it had the governance of the world, more than all the wings that had been. And after this I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more, like as the wings. But there remained the 2 heads, which also in like sort ruled upon the earth, and over those that dwelt therein. And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was upon the left side. Then I heard a voice which said unto me, Look before thee, and consider the thing that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle, and said, Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts, whom I made reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? And the 4th came, and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. For the earth hast thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also hath looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed, and may return being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. Chapter 12. And it came to pass, whilst the lion spoke these words unto the eagle, I saw, and behold, the head that remained in the 4 wings appeared no more. And the 2 went unto it, and set themselves up to reign. And their kingdom was small, and full of uproar. And I saw, and behold, they appeared no more. And the whole body of the eagle was burnt, so that the earth was in great fear. Then awoke I out of the trouble and trance of my mind, and from great fear, and said unto my spirit, Lo, this hast thou done unto me, in that thou searchest out the ways of the highest. Lo, yet I am weary in my mind, and very weak in my spirit, and little strength is there in me, for the great fear wherewith I was affrighted this night. Therefore will I now beseech the highest, that he will comfort me unto the end. And I said, Lord that bearest rule, if I have found grace before thy sight, and if I am justified with thee before many others, and if my prayer indeed be come up before thy face, comfort me then, and show me thy servant the interpretation and plain difference of this fearful vision, that thou mayest perfectly comfort my soul. For thou hast judged me worthy to show me the last times. And he said unto me, This is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. But it was not expounded unto him. Therefore I now declare it unto thee. Behold, the days will come, that there shall rise up a kingdom upon earth, and it shall be feared above all the kingdoms that were before it. In the same shall 12 kings reign, one after another, whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12. And this do the 12 wings signify which thou sawest. As for the voice which thou heardest speak, and that thou sawest not to go out from the heads, but from the midst of the body thereof, this is the voice which I heard from the Lord that said, Take the book and open it. And I opened it, and behold, a book written
Yeah, I got to go somewhere right quick. I'll continue this when I get back. Much love to y'all. Greatly. It's like 30 more minutes left. Great light.